Hello YouTube. I'm GamerX, and this is your top 10 creepypastas. Number 10, Jeff the Killer. Now, there's a lot of things going around about Jeff the Killer. Like, who is Jeff the Killer? And is his picture haunted by a real death? Well, you're looking into the face of the internet's most disturbing legends. Jeff the Killer, whose face was burned off with acid, who hides in your closet telling you to go to sleep. But where did this 2008 image come from, you say? The story is as horrific as the meme itself. Over at the Daily Dot, Fernando Alfonso reports on some of the possible origin stories for the internet's horror legend, as uncovered by people by the 4chan community. The first tale of Jeff the Killer is probably this weird video from 2008. But since that time, it's blown up into an incredibly popular meme, morphing into hundreds of creepy incarnations, including stories more terrifying, photoshops, and even video games. The question is, where did that first image come from? A community devoted to urban legends and the supernatural wanted to find out. There are a lot of theories, but one seems the most plausible and chilling. In the fall of 2008, a girl named Katie Robinson allegedly posted a grainy photo of herself taken in a closet, 4chan's random image board. As the story goes, the girl was bullied relentlessly for her weight and later committed suicide. Redditor 9to5 Hero claimed Katie's original photo was photoshopped to create what is now considered the Jeff the Killer photo. In one less photoshopped version of Jeff's picture, a mole is clearly visible. That's also visible in the picture of Katie's. 9to5 Hero wrote on Reddit, "It looks in a different position on the face, but that would be a result of a new mouth photoshopped on to help create Jeff." Number 9, Smile Dog. Smile Dog, aka Smile.jpg, or by its other names, SmileDog.jpg, among other names. One of the first creepypasta chain letters to start in the 1990s, quite possibly on Usenet. The original image was of a husky with glowing green eyes and large teeth with a red hand floating by it. One of the stories, there are many now, claimed that a woman had seen the picture and killed herself, and so her husband, for who knows what reason, decided to forward the picture to his friends and relatives. If that's true, why did he do it in the first place? The chain letter was circulated and a basement dweller from 4chan got his or her hands on it because the original picture was hardly intimidating, said the basement dweller. Decided to use basic Photoshop skills to create a piece of crap that had some crooked teeth put into the husky's face and turned red along all the other changes. This image, this creepy image, disturbing image, was probably spammed all over the net. Number 8, Laughing Jack. Evil Dozer. Full name unknown. Alias Laughing Jack. Laughing Jack is the central protagonist, depending on point of view, of the creepypasta story of the same name as prequel, The Origin of Laughing Jack. He is a sinister supernatural clown, often posing as an imaginary friend to his victims, who gleefully guts people alive and usually replaces their disemboweled organs with candy. And if that wasn't bad enough, then this. At first, Laughing Jack was an innocent, sweet, and pure-hearted angelic creation who tried the best to comfort Isaac, considering how lonely he was. However, Isaac's later actions significantly affected in a particularly negative way the gift, which became more and more disturbed and psychotic with time. Laughing Jack, originally colored, lost his hues as Isaac's actions corrupted it. Laughing Jack became totally black and white as he reached a point of returned and fully embraced his demonic form. Currently, Laughing Jack presents himself as a figure of pure evilness and violence in his very core, who takes pleasure in killing and torturing whoever is in his path, especially those he was once designed and protected and designed to protect. Number 7. Eyeless Jack. Eyeless Jack is a main antagonist of the creepypasta of the same name. He is not given any origin, and while fans have written many of their own stories about him, there is no confirmed origin of Eyeless Jack. He is a serial killer, but his goals, origins, motives, age, nationality, true name, black blood, and supposed ability to see and stay alive with no eyes have never been explained. There was a guy, true story that I'm about to tell you. This was a true story by a guy named Mitch. In the original story, a man named Mitch moves in with his brother Edwin after his house is foreclosed. A week later, Mitch wakes up with a large gash on his cheek. After going to the hospital, the doctors reveals that Mitch's left kidney had been surgically removed overnight. Around midnight that night, Mitch wakes up to see Eyeless Jack over his bed, wearing a blue mask with black liquid dripping from his empty eye sockets. Behind the mask, Mitch manages to grab his camera and take a picture of Jack before he attacks. Clawing at his chest, Mitch escapes and flees into the woods, where he trips and is knocked unconscious. When Mitch awakens in the hospital, it is revealed to him that Edwin had been killed that previous night. His parents drive him to the house to collect his belongings. When he enters, Mitch sees Edwin's corpse and a small object laying next to it. He observes it to find it is his kidney, with a bite taken out of it, covered in black substance. Number 6. Rap Rat. The origin of the unnamed user Nightmare's account about their experience with the game Rap Rat has not been verified, but the content of their post recently surfaced on the CreepyPasta wiki. According to the source, the Nightmare game was too scary for them to play as a child, so their mother purchased the seemingly kid-friendly Rap Rat as a safer alternative, which turned out to be a major mistake. On the surface, Rap Rat seems like a silly but straightforward board game, but features the title character, a bizarre, hideous-looking rat puppet with an abrasive voice, dictating the rules players via the TV screen. It was a scary thing. It was terrible. The next thing that happened was that's when a series of unexplained and ghastly events began to plague the plant's managers and staff, as well as that of the parent company. Reports the employees being chased by a strange creature or hearing a mechanical laugh coming from the darker corners of the shop, followed by a series of fatal accidents, suicides, and other unexplained deaths. Number 5. Smiley. The Smiley Face is a creepy urban legend from Europe about a man who does terrible things to girls, who walks home alone at night. This story is also known as the Smile of the Clown. One night, a teenage girl went to a nightclub with her friends. They had a great time drinking and dancing, and it was 3 a.m. By the time they left, her friends lived in the city, but the girl lived in the suburbs. They said goodbye and went back to their apartment, leaving the girl to make her own way home. Unable to get a taxi, the girl decided to walk home on her own. On the way, she had to cross through a park. It was very dark, and all she could hear was the clacking of her heels, echoing in the night. She thought she saw something moving in the bushes, so she quickened her pace. Suddenly, a man appeared from behind a bush and blocked her path. His face was hideous. It looked terribly scarred and misshapen. She tried to run, but he cornered her and grabbed a hold of her arms. The frightened girl pleaded for her life and tearfully asked to be let go. The man's deformed mouth twisted into a leering grin. Do you want death or Smiley Face? He asked. She said, "Please let me go," she cried. "Death or Smiley Face," he insisted. The girl didn't know what he meant. "Smiley Face," she replied. Without a word, he pulled out his knife and sliced the corners of the girl's mouth up to her ears. Her face was left completely deformed. She was scared for her life. She was scarred for life. Whenever people saw her in public, they said she resembled a grotesque smiley face. Number 4. Sonic.exe. The Daily Dot posted saying, "If you play this haunted Sonic game, you'll die." It's not the tagline to an especially nerdy sequel for The Ring, but it is the idea behind the infamous internet creepypasta known as Sonic.exe. Creepypasta is internet slang for any urban legend that originated from online sharing. It stems from copypasta, which is a copy and paste. Creepypastas are the spooky versions of text copied and sent around the web. Slenderman, perhaps one of the most famous examples. In 2012, Sonic.exe's popularity spiked when a user named My5T released a playable game version of Sonic.exe in the indie game developer site GameJolt, designed especially as the site and story described it. A few months later, YouTube's most popular vlogger, PewDiePie, uploaded a walkthrough video of My5T's game, introducing the creepypasta to millions of people. As with anything that becomes popular, a backlash was inevitable. And that's where this story takes a tragically amusing turn. In January 2014, only a few months after Sonic.exe's PewDiePie introduction, the Creepypasta wiki administrators decided to delete the story from their website, stating that it was badly written and had too many glitches. The scariest creepypasta stories you haven't heard yet. The definite guide to creepypasta, the internet's urban legends. Of Sonic.exe. Number 3. Been Drowned. Been Drowned, also known as Majora's Mask, is a scary creepypasta story written. It's about a young man who comes across a bootleg cartridge of the Nintendo 64 game, The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. When he plays the game, he begins to suspect it is haunted by the ghost of a boy named Ben who drowned. With him saying this, "I recently moved into my dorm room, starting as a sophomore in college, and a friend of mine gave me his old Nintendo 64 to play. I was stoked to say at least I could finally play all those old games of my youth I hadn't touched in at least a decade." His Nintendo 64 came with a yellow controller and a rather shoddy copy of Super Smash Bros. And while beggars can't be choosers, it didn't take long before I got bored of beating up level 9 CPUs. That weekend I decided to drive around a few neighborhoods about 20 minutes or so off campus, paying up the local garage sales. I was hoping to score some good deals from ignorant parents. I ended up picking up a copy of Pokemon Stadium, GoldenEye, F-Zero, and 2 other controllers for $2. Satisfied, I began to drive out of the neighborhood when one last house caught my attention. I still have no idea why it did. There were no cars. There were only one table was set up with random junk on it. However, something sort of drew me there. I usually trust my gut on these things, so I got out of the car, and I was greeted by an old man. His outward appearance was, for lack of a better word, displeasing. It was odd. If you ask me why I thought he looked displeasing, I couldn't really pinpoint anything. There was just something about him that put me on the edge. I can't explain it. All I can tell you that if it wasn't in the middle of the afternoon and there weren't other people within shouting distance, I wouldn't have even thought of approaching this man. He flashed a crooked smile at me and asked what I was looking for. Immediately I noticed he must be blind in one eye. His right eye had the glazed over look about it. I forced myself to look to his left eye, trying not to offend him, and asked if he had any old video games. I was already wondering how I could politely excuse myself from this situation when he would tell me he had no idea what a video game was. But to my surprise, he said he had a few in an old box. He assured me he'd be back in a jiffy, and turned to head back into the garage. As I watched him bobble away, I couldn't help but notice he was selling on his table. Littered across his table were rather peculiar paintings, artwork that looked like ink blots, some that a psychiatric person would show you to help you. Curiously, I looked through them, and obvious why no one was visiting this guy's garage sale. These weren't exactly pleasing. As I came to the last one, I noticed it looked almost like Majora's Mask, with the same heart-shaped body with the little spikes outward. This is just some things that was in part 1 of what he was talking about, Majora's Mask. That was been drowned. Number 2. The Rake. The Rake is an alleged monster that attacks and kills humans. The appearance of the Rake is described as a 6-foot-tall, gray-skinned humanoid with sparse hair, black, sunken or hollow eyes, large jaws, capable of unhinging peg-like teeth, and large fingers or claws on its hands. In some tellings of the story, the Rake has an almost hairless canine look to it. For an image of the Rake is scary to look at. According to lore, people who accidentally sight the Rake are chosen to be its next victims. During the first intel sightings, usually at night, in and out of the way places, the Rake will simply stare down the person. The person will generally be frightened, but will recover when they return to the safety of their home. However, within a few nights, the Rake will enter the home of the person, and the unfortunate victim will awaken and see the monster staring at them at the foot of their bed. From that time, the Rake will make regular appearances. Eventually, the Rake will either outright kill and gut the victim with its long claws and feast on the victim's internal organs, or it will drive them mad. Those whom the Rake does not outright kill will be driven insane and usually end up killing themselves. Number 1. Slenderman. Slenderman makes up the last spot on our countdown, being the most scary and true story of all time. State, on the evening of May 30th, 2014, three 12-year-old girls gathered for a sleepover in a small Milwaukee suburb. The next morning, authorities found two of the girls, Morgan and Anissa, walking along the highway. They found the third girl in the nearby woods, fighting for her life, after having been stabbed 19 times with a large kitchen knife. As the retreating pair would later confess to authorities, the attack was an act of ritual sacrifice. They intended to murder their classmate in the name of the Slenderman. I wanted proof that he existed. I was afraid that would happen if if I didn't want to find out what would happen if we didn't. She also said that she knew that if she didn't follow through with the attack, Slenderman would kill her whole family in 3 seconds. Like Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, or the Chupacabra, the Slenderman is total fiction, an internet meme blurred by curious minds into something resembling reality. It stands apart from those legendary creatures, thanks to the traceable origin. While most monster lore takes 100 years to evolve, the being that drove two young girls to attempt murder was born in a matter of weeks, incubated in well-lit expanses of the net. Thank you everybody for watching. This has been your top 10 creepypastas. I'm GamerX, and I will see you in the next one. If you like this video, comment, like, and subscribe when you see the subscribe button at the end of this video. Peace out, guys.